Hello and welcome once again to another edition of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. I am your host, as always, the mouth of Michigan, Rob Mendyka. With me, as always, my co-host, the Merc Zone, Mike Merkel.
I'm right here.
And, of course, the lovely, the brain, Emily Merkel.
Howdy.
All right, guys, let's talk about it here a little bit. First off, episode 11, right? We're feeling good off our monumental episode number 10, which if you haven't listened to it, make sure you do. We got some big news for you guys this week. We have officially become partners with two more podcasting streaming sites. Both Stitcher and TuneIn Radio are now both on the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast bandwagon. So now that's right, folks. Now anywhere at all. We've always said for the longest time that we are on everywhere. Some of our fans let us know that we weren't on a couple of these more popular streaming sites. Well, no fear, because now we are officially on there, and we're getting tons of plays and everything else like that. So make sure if that's your preferred method of listening and streaming, please be sure to subscribe to us on there, because we are officially on there as of this week. We're going to be going over, guys, tons of great topics. We're going to be hitting the NBA trade deadline. We're talking analysis of the Super Bowl. We're talking halftime heat. We're talking National Signing Day, and even some post All-Star Game Red Wing talk, okay, guys? So we're going to be hitting all that in this week's episode. So let's do what we do best. Let's jump right in. We're talking, obviously, about the big game, Super Bowl 53, the New England Patriots 13, the Los Angeles Rams 3. Me and Mike were right on our predictions that the Patriots would win, so go us. I won some money out of the deal, so thanks, Marco Budzanowski family. Thoughts on the game, guys? Because, obviously, I think this game, everybody came in was like, this is going to be an interesting high-scoring matchup, and it was the complete opposite of that. So, I'm going to start with you. What were your thoughts on the game besides the Super Bowl snacks that you were enjoying that night?
Oh, well, I want to talk about my snacks. But, I thought it was a good game. I feel like, first of all, I thought the Patriots were going to win. Mm-hmm. I don't usually bet against them. That might be a thing I inherited from my fiance, but...
Yep, damn right.
But I thought it was an okay game. I didn't think... just because it wasn't as high-scoring as you would expect the Rams and the Patriots to be, I think people were pretty disengaged. Mm-hmm. I know the halftime show got a little criticism, so I just think the whole game... I don't want to say it was a flop. I mean, it's cool because it adds to another Patriots win.
Right.
It's just kind of cool to see that dynasty continue, but...
Right. Anything that you noticed as far as gameplay or anything that you were shocked by? I know we were talking as the game was going on, or even me and Mike were like, I just don't understand what... Like, both defenses seemed to really come to play that day, and you were just like, nothing's happening. You know, I know your dad was even saying, like, this game's boring, right? Mm-hmm. But as me and Mike were sitting there, we're like, no, you don't understand. You're just waiting for that first domino to drop, mm-hmm. and it never really did. Dropped. You know what I mean? Not till the very end where you're just like, I'm waiting for something mm-hmm. to happen, and then it kind of just ended, and we were like, okay, we can take a sigh of relief now, right? You know, it's just like, relief. But, I mean, Mike, same question. Like, what did you think of the game, and, like, how did you, I mean, what were your thoughts going in?
I mean, I thought it was insane that people really don't like this game.
Yeah. Because
when you look at it, you go into the fourth quarter, and it's 3-3. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess it's not 28-28, so it's not scoring. Mm-hmm. But you can't say, oh, it was so boring. Would you rather it be 48-0 going into the fourth quarter?
Another Seattle-Denver game where everyone's pissed. Yeah.
Like, do you want another blowout? Like, I'm enticed with a 3-3 game, and, you know, Tom Brady throws a pick six, and that game's completely different.
Right.
Or Coos catches one of the two passes, and the game's different because you don't know if the Patriots are going to score. So that the whole game altogether, I loved actually. Yeah. But one question for you is, where was Todd Gurley the whole game?
And that's that's a great point, because when you look at the offensive game plan, and that kind of leads us to our next thought was, did the Rams overthink this? I think that over the past couple games, I think two things. Number one, obviously we talked in great length about how they kind of got lucky to get past the Saints, but to your point, Mike, Todd Gurley was non-existent, right? No. And he really, let's not say he was effective necessarily. He had a couple good runs, but I think that the Rams, Sean McVay, and he even came out and said he was out-coached, but I think that they overthought this game a little bit. I think they got in their own heads, because going into a game against New England, you're thinking, okay, the biggest stage, the Super Bowl, Belichick's been here 1,004 times. They know how to win this game. They've lost this game last year. You had more talent. The Rams had more talent, right? At almost any position, with the exception of probably one wide receiver slot because of Julian Edelman and the quarterback position. Everywhere else, for the most part, the Rams had it beat. Yeah. So, I think they overthought it, and I did not recognize that Rams offense that game. There was no misdirections. There was no high profile passing. There wasn't anything deep down the field for a good majority of that game.
Yeah.
They couldn't find any sort of rhythm. Explain that to me, because I just felt like it was like they got scared and they just didn't. They were playing not to lose.
Well, I would agree with that 100%. But I actually have two things. One, I think Goff's play through the second half of the season has been atrocious.
Absolutely.
And I think when you throw more interceptions than touchdowns through the last 8 games, or 6 games including playoffs, I think that's a big key of, like, usually near the ending, you see teams like the Patriots, they start heating up.
Right, they get better.
They get better. And once the playoffs start, you hit peak Patriots. That's why they're bad in September, as the Lions beat them in September.
Right.
But
and yeah, that's the thing, right? You see teams that start out fast that fade out in the end because they're not built to win late in games, right? Whereas, like you're saying, New England, the complete opposite, where we're going to work some things out, but by the end, we're going to be a full functioning machine, ready to go.
And one other thing with the Rams, before we start talking a little bit about the Patriots, is I think, and this guy has not been brought up at all because he's been hurt, but one guy I think they miss so much is Cooper Kupp.
Absolutely.
I think if he's there, I think they score a lot more than they do, and I think it's actually, I don't know if we're sitting here talking about the Patriots winning if Cooper Kupp's there, because who guards Cooper Kupp? Because they had Gilmore and they had both McCourty brothers doubling and playing good coverage on the 2 corners or the 2 receivers they have.
Right, there was nobody in the middle of the field to break that open.
They have no tight end and they have no other third receiver that can really make plays. When you add Cooper Kupp in there that can go make plays, then you have to start single coveraging guys, and that's when Brandon Cooks can go one-on-one and beat somebody over the top or something.
And which he did too. Goff's play, and we talked about this before, and maybe it necessarily wasn't even on air, but where we were talking about how the Rams kind of limped into the playoffs a little bit. It's not so much that they were losing games, but they weren't winning games the same way. And if you look even at the beginning, especially like that Lions game here to bring it a little more local, I mean, even Bill Belichick said they looked at what the Lions did as far as coverages and schemes, especially defensively, and we held them in check for 3 quarters, right? So if you look at kind of those kind of scenarios where you say, all right, a team like the Lions, who was 6-10 at the end of the season, really were never in the playoff hunt to begin with, were able to kind of do some things and stifle that high-powered Rams offense. I'm a Rams fan, and this may be a little bit of overreaction, but 2 things. Number 1, you've paid Todd Gurley a ton of money, extended him 2 years already before his rookie contract ends, and he's going to be the highest paid running back in football, and you did not use him down the stretch. In the 2 biggest games of the year, your quote-unquote best player is on the bench. It's unacceptable. And 2, if you are the Rams and your defense plays that well and you have an offensive guru that everyone says that Sean McVay is, and you can only put up 3 points, right? I'm concerned now.
Yeah.
Because that means 2 things. We've seen it with the Wildcat. We've seen it with other trendy offenses, the Chip Kelly offense in Philadelphia. All these different high-profile, high-prolific scoring type teams, they never reach the end. They never are successful long-term because once the amount of tape is out there, it's out there. And there's only so much you can do to reinvent the wheel. And I think that's what the Rams are going to realize pretty quickly here. And if Jared Goff does not take a major step forward this year, I'm not talking statistically, I'm talking the way he plays, and without the reliability of a strong run game and being able to use play-action passing, he's going to really, really struggle. Did the Rams overthought this game, right? We all can kind of agree on that. But what does this say now about the Patriots? Their dynasty, a second dynasty, basically, if you can call it, 3-3 almost here in the past couple of years. What can you say about this, if anything else? Does this do anything for their legacy? Does this do anything for what people already know? Does it put Belichick in like another league all on his own more? Does it say anything at all, or is it just like us, the Patriots? We expect it.
I think it definitely adds a little bit to the Patriot legacy, because at the end of the day, I mean, was it the world's most interesting game, and was it like super exciting? Do I think it'll go down in history as a legendary Super Bowl? Probably not.
No.
But do I think? What I think this kind of hints at is like legacy strong teams that exist over many years in football versus your I don't want to say bandwagon.
It's a flash.
Your flashy teams.
Yep.
And the slow build, the process that the Patriots have in place. Those are the teams I think you kind of want to try to be, because I think we're proving time and time again that, for the most part, excluding a couple of here and there, I think that 1 year go for it team in football, that strategy doesn't quite
necessarily work. You're right. You're absolutely right.
So I think it maybe says more a little bit about the sport as a whole.
Absolutely.
Than just,
No, you're right. New England's built something. It doesn't matter what players leave, what players come in. They're always there. That system in place, the sense of accountability. Mike, same question, right? Does this do anything? Does this change anything? I've seen some people say that it means that even when Brady's off, right, which we can all kind of agree he wasn't his best, Belichick is, at the end of the day, the deciding factor in these games, and he really turns it on when he needs to. Does that do anything for it? Does it change how we feel about the New England Patriots after this championship?
Well, after this one, I think as a whole, I think this really puts... I think it's going to be hard for anybody to go over Bill Belichick ever.
Right.
And here's why. When you look at the 6 Super Bowls that they've won, and even some of them that they've lost, they play different in every single one.
Absolutely.
The first...
Different ways to win.
Yeah, first 3 or 4 were decently similar.
Right.
I'm more talking about these later 3 that they won.
Yeah.
When you play Seattle and it's like a mid-scoring game and Brady needs to make that game-winning drive and then he does it and then Malcolm Butler gets the interception in the goal line when no one think it would happen.
Right.
You win that way. Then you're down 25 against Atlanta
Yep.
and your defense gets a couple turnovers and you win that way. And then in this last Super Bowl when you have 16 total points scored altogether.
Yep.
And it's just a defensive slugger, not game.
Right.
And you're able to win that way. You just have levels upon levels like, hey, we don't have to score 30 and we can still win. Or, hey, if we have to, we can score 45 and win.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
you have so many levels of ways you can win and scheme that I don't think anybody else can.
No doubt. No doubt. I think you're totally right. And being able to adjust and adapt, it's so important that people understand. And I think this is something, too, you can relate here to Detroit fans as far as what Matt Patricia's trying to instill. It's every week is a new week. It's a new opponent, and you have to find a new way to win, right? And I think no team has ever done that better than the New England Patriots. You're entirely correct, where you go and you say that, it's if we can't do it this way, we're going to do it this way. We can't do it this way, so we're going to have to do it this way. And being able to stop a quote-unquote one of the best offenses in the league, and with the ability that they did, and understanding the weakness that is Jared Goff in that offense, and sensing we can't run the ball, they can't push the ball downfield, and limiting their options, right, and being so disciplined in their approach was phenomenal.
Yeah. And that's why I don't think teams like the Chiefs and even the Rams, as you saw, that's why they're going to have struggles until they can find a way to win both sides.
Right.
Because when you look at the Chiefs, and the only way they can win if Patrick Mahomes throws 6 touchdowns is not the way to, you can win some games.
Right. You can get far. You can
get to the AFC Championship. But then when you play the Patriots and, you're only scoring 28 points or something, and your defense has to make stops and they can't, then obviously you can't win. You have to find multiple ways to win.
Right. It's being a complete team and not having any glaring holes. That's what I think Detroit fans need to understand. It's not always about the star player. It's about the guy you don't realize that's playing your slot corner, who's playing your 4th cornerback, who, if an injury like Patrick Chung breaks his arm, okay, now Harmon has to come in and makes a touchdown-saving tackle to make sure that they don't catch that pass in the back of the end zone. Those are the kind of plays that you go, wow, right? Yeah. Those are the people that are the difference between winning and losing in the National Football League. That's a tremendous point, Mike. All right, let's shift now to the other big news of the week, the NBA trade deadline. We talked about it last week because there were some big trades that happened, but guess what? There was even more that happened this week. So, thoughts, Evan, I'm going to start with you. What were the shocking trades for you? So many things happened, right? And we'll have the Pistons ones in a minute. But talking about big players leaving, Anthony Davis obviously staying, but what were you shocked by? Anything particular where you're just like, wow, didn't see that one coming?
In the whole NFL?
No, in the whole NBA.
NBA.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I said NFL. Sorry, right. NBA. I'm looking at you, I'm like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think that probably to throw it to one of the 3 basketball teams I've seen play live, the Philadelphia 76ers, I think the Tobias Harris trade was really interesting. He's moved around twice, I think. He got traded.
Yeah, he got traded from us to LA last year, and now from LA to Philadelphia this year.
And so I think that's an interesting trade. He definitely could be a max player.
Yep.
For pretty much any team. I think it gives the Philadelphia 76ers kind of a more 4-star and a potential window for them to win. When we saw them play the Pistons, because we went this year and saw them this season, they were relatively, evenly matched. They won by a little bit.
Embiid,
the Pistons aren't really that good.
So adding an awesome player like that into the mix might really, enable them to go up.
Mike, same thing, right? What was a shocking trade for you that you kind of didn't see coming? I know you're a big basketball guy, similar to our NBA insider Kyle Bodzanowski. Big shout out to Kyle. But any shocking trades really that you were like, I didn't see that coming outside the Tobias trade?
I wouldn't say that I didn't see coming per se. I mean, we talked about last week with that Porzingis trade. I was kind of shocked by it. I was like, well, he went to
Dallas, right?
Dallas, but then the Knicks are just opening up slots, so hopefully they can get somebody, which makes sense, trying to rebuild that. But actually, I do think that Tobias Harris trade, I didn't think it was going to go through the way it did.
Right.
And also, what I loved was Markelle Fultz getting traded.
Yeah, that was like a little lower under the radar one that kind of happened at the very end, and everyone goes, wait, hold on. Yeah. They traded already? Like, they gave up
they were
on him already.
Yeah, they were like, so we have our starting 5 now, and you have Sark, and you've got a couple guys off the bench that can play, TJ McConnell and stuff.
Yep.
And now you're like, we don't really need Markelle Fultz.
Yep.
Let's get some picks or just get something out of him. And yeah,
right,
so
and
I
it's
think
a low-risk proposition for the Magic, too. If he works out, great, we have our starting point guard for the future. If he doesn't, well, we traded very little for him, and he's on a rookie scale. I think that's a great option. I would agree with you on the Markelle Fultz thing. I was kind of surprised that the Raptors went for Marc Gasol.
Ooh,
I was a little surprised by that. Just by the way that I agree the Raptors probably have a small window here, and I get that you're trying to kind of give pieces to Kawhi to convince him to stay, but you got to hope that you have some sort of indication from Kawhi that he's staying, because you just traded for a 30-year-old center with a big contract the next 2 years, and if you don't have Kawhi there and you don't have some other pieces, that's a little wishy-washy. Thoughts on the Pistons moves, right? Stanley Johnson gets traded for Thon Maker, and then obviously Reggie Bullock is traded to Lakers for Svi name.
Yep.
But you go ahead and you can pronounce it yourselves, because I sure as hell can't. And for a second-round pick, right? So Pistons clearing some cap space to get underneath the luxury tax, being able to give themselves some flexibility, right? Knowing that they can't make a blockbuster trade because of the cap hell that they're in now. But I like these trades. I like the fact that they went, we're going to get rid of guys that we know either we're not going to be able to re-sign or we're not going to re-sign in Stanley Johnson. Get 2 guys that they like for their shooting and for their upside, right? Thon Maker is a ginormous man who can stretch the ball and shoot the 3. So he clearly can make a play, right? Hasn't got the time in Milwaukee. Same thing with Svi. He can shoot the 3, but he's just kind of stuck at the back end of that bench. Yep. You're the Pistons. You're not really going anywhere. So you might as well try and take it. Worst case scenario, they don't work out, you clear some cap.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, what do you think? Are you kind of in line with me, or are you kind of just like, they're trades that buy back rotational players, so who the hell cares?
I mean, I don't know their names now. I'm sure they're playing for the Pistons more. I might know who they are. No, I think clearing up cap space and offering yourself more opportunity, more wiggle room, and seasons to come, I think is key. I think we've talked about that in 3 sports at this point.
Yeah, no, it's exactly, no, it really is.
So we've talked about that in a lot of sports, and it's good to see that Detroit sports are trying to take some accountability for trying to find creative ways to
get underneath there and to understand that they're in a situation where you're trying to maximize the window with Blake Griffin playing as well as he is right now. So I can appreciate the fact that Ed Stefanski going out and saying, listen, there's no way we're going to be able to make the trade we want to, but being able to not sell out the future just to go get a Mike Conley is I think a step in the right direction for the Pistons, and being able to show some patience and understand that, okay, maybe we're not built to win yet, but maybe if we hit on a pick or 2 and are able to get some assets here that people want, then you're kind of able to build something. Mike, what do you think of the Pistons moves?
Well, at first, I thought they were moving people around to make a blockbuster trade.
Right,
I couldn't put my finger on it. I didn't think it was going to be Mike Conley, but I had a feeling maybe we would try to go for Marc Gasol, or we are going to try to go for some bigger name guy that was out there.
Yep.
And then, because we were clearing up the cap and everything, and then when that didn't go through, I was like, oh, so that's all we're going to get? Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So, because getting Thon Maker, I was like, maybe we get rid of Drummond somehow.
Right.
I thought we were going to dump him or something, because
Mm-hmm.
Thon can play, he's 7'1", he can shoot. That's exactly what you need. And for future reference, not really future reference, but we just signed Wayne Ellington, who's also a 3-point shooter.
Right.
So as you can see, how this team's going to be built soon is
spacing the
floor and shooting, and you're going to have Drummond getting boards.
And it's going to open up a lot for Luke Kennard as well to kind of get in the rotation. He was a starter, I think, as a couple days ago. So they were able to kind of give him some more minutes, because I know that in talks with the Grizzlies, they said that they wanted Luke as part of that deal or an additional first-round pick, and the Pistons said no to both that. So that's them showing some restraint and understanding that we don't need to take another bloated contract just because, right? It doesn't make any sense for them to do it at this moment. So I was really happy to see that. Biggest winner of the trade deadline. I'm going to start with you. Biggest winner for you on that regard? Because there's a couple teams that you can say are true winners of this deadline here.
I would probably say the Dallas Mavericks.
Okay.
They shed Barnes' salary cap, moving on from Dennis Smith Jr., so you kind of got rid of some of their salary cap problems too, and then they signed Kristaps Porzingis.
Right, yeah, you got him from the Knicks, right, which we talked about last week.
And so now that kind of keeps him more young, more competitive, kind of in the game, getting rid of some of those top players you've
got two younger guys that have potential all-star ability, right, at their best, can stretch the floor, are both athletic, right, and you have a true unicorn in Kristaps if he comes back healthy. I think would truly be a good one. Who's your biggest loser?
I mean, the Grizzlies, I think they weren't able to get rid of Mike Conley and his salary.
Right.
And then they took kind of a weird contract.
Right,
when they traded away
Gasol, right?
Gasol.
Yeah, they took back Jonas Valanciunas, or however the hell you say his last name. Yeah, so you take back a bad contract just to get rid of Marc Gasol, but the only reason why you're getting rid of Marc Gasol is because of his contract, so it's kind of a wishy-washy type move. I get it if you're Toronto just to make the money work, you kind of had to, but at the same time it was a little bit awkward. Mike, same question for you. Biggest winner and loser for you on the trade deadline?
I think it's close. I think the winner, for me at least, would be the Sixers.
Right.
Getting Tobias Harris is huge.
Yes.
Because then you're looking at your starting lineup being Simmons, Redick, Jimmy Butler, Tobias Harris, and Joel Embiid.
Yeah,
I think that's a five that can probably, can't say until they start playing a little bit, but they can probably match up pretty well with teams like the Warriors.
Yeah.
Who also have a big
solid five, right?
But when you look at it, their smallest guy is JJ Redick at like 6'5", and you have guys like Steph Curry out there who have to guard somebody.
Right.
So that's going to be an interesting factor if the Sixers go far enough, and they just have depth now with some good bench players and stuff. So I think they won. My loser, and this is going to be a hot take.
Oh boy.
We're hitting a hot take.
Oh boy. Hot take.
Watch out. Gotta cool me down on this one.
Yeah.
The Pelicans, I think, lost.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my. You're gonna really like my take then.
I say that only because you have Anthony Davis.
Right.
And you're on the boat of, I want to maybe get rid of him. Like, he wants a trade, and you want to get rid of him.
Yep.
And you can look at all these offers that people are giving you.
Yep.
As a GM, and you're looking at what the Lakers were willing to give up, and you're just, no, I'm not going to, astonishes me. Not from the Lakers, like I'm a LeBron fan, Lakers fan, so I was like, I didn't really want to give up all those pieces, but as a Pelicans fan, you're giving me Lonzo, Ingram, Kuzma, Zubac, you're giving me possibly BZ, Rondo, and 4 first-round picks. You're giving me all of those guys.
Well, they weren't given 4, though. They were given 2.
Two first and 2 seconds.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so you're getting all of those things for Anthony Davis.
I agree.
And I sit there and I go, I think that's something. The Celtics were apparently trying to get Jason Tatum out with Jaylen Brown and stuff.
Yeah.
They're trying to make a big package with those two. Yeah. You can tell me you don't want Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown for anything?
But you can't. But you remember, though, the Celtics can't trade for AD because of Kyrie. How the cap works right now, right?
Yeah.
They couldn't get him till after July. Here's why, and this is funny that you say that they're a loser, right? I thought the Pelicans are a winner, and this is why I say that, right? Because if you're the Lakers, you have all the motivation in the world to get them. But if you're the Pelicans, those pieces are still there. I have no incentive because, let's just say this, right? Let's say the Lakers make a deep run, but the Knicks get the first overall pick, right? And you're trying to tear it down. Yeah. You can then, and the Knicks have now max contract space, right? I don't know if he'd ever sign there, but point being is that if you have pieces, and say that the Celtics have 3-4 first round picks coming up here that they can give you along with Jason Tatum. I'm sorry, but Jason Tatum is better than any of those guys you just mentioned from the Lakers, right? By himself, he's better, right? So if you can get him, I like Kuzma, but Tatum's a better player.
That's close.
I don't know. Either way, right?
It's close.
But here's the thing: if you're the Pelicans, though, you have a obligation as an organization to not. Listen. The Lakers' offer was fantastic, right? Yeah. I think it would have depleted them, and I think they would have hurt in the long run. But the point being, I understand why they tried to do it. But that trade value can still be there in the off season.
I agree with that, but also I would be nervous as a Pelican, not because. You can still trade with the Knicks, but say the Lakers make some miraculous run. Yeah. Say in a long shot they make the finals or something, and they're one game out and they lose to the Bucks in 7 or something. Say in a hypothetical situation that happens, and you go, so we have room for one max guy. Say you just add someone like Kyrie, or you can get one other very good player to get you over the hump because of what we have now. Now you don't need Anthony Davis, and you realize it now, which I think could hurt.
Yeah,
I agree. The Pelicans still can dish to the Knicks or whatever, but I think to the Lakers, I don't think they'll be willing to give up all those pieces if they make a deep run.
The Pelicans know they're in a position right now where they can't keep them, so they have a window here. But at the window that they were going to operate on was not the same window the Lakers run, and that's the problem that the Lakers have. Really, is that if they would have had a piece, right? I think that the Pelicans really wanted, right? Yeah. Say they had a second star in addition to LeBron, right? That they could maybe they could have shipped a Kyrie over, and I bet that deal gets done. But they don't have anybody truly that's proven in this league yet that they could have given up, right? And I think that's the biggest thing. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And I think we're gonna have to keep watch of
absolutely
because I think the Lakers and you saw it when they played Boston and they played tonight against. We're filming this Sunday, so they play the Sixers tonight. But they are a team on a mission right now because when you look, all those guys, they weren't deferring to LeBron, and they were Kuzma's I'll take the 3-point shot because I want to show how much I mean to this team. And you're gonna have all that motivation going the rest of the season. That's a team to watch out for in a 7-game series.
Absolutely. Okay, guys, that's gonna be it for part 1 of episode 11. We will be right back after these words from us. Hey guys, this is the Mouth of Michigan, Ron Medeka, just reminding you once again that we have now partnered with Stitcher and TuneIn Radio. Mike, tell me where else we're streaming.
We're also streaming on iTunes, Spotify, and Google Play Music. Hey, how can we get to our social media pages?
Oh, you can check out I'm Always Right PC on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize that we're on all these places, guys. Can you believe that?
That is crazy.
This place is going bananas. That means bananas. Now be sure to stick around for part 2 of this week's episode. Okay, and welcome back to part 2 of episode 11 of the I'm Always Right Sports Podcast. We're going to hit the second half. We're going to start out with some Red Wings talk coming out of the All-Star break. Not the best news for the Detroit Red Wings. Dylan Larkin's going to be out for a couple weeks here. But coming out of this All-Star break, and we've talked ad nauseum now about how the Wings are in some salary cap issues. Their youth really isn't developing the way we want them to. They're kind of just there, right? They're just a team. The Red Wings are on the schedule. They're not go-to programming. They're not really anything. So, Mike, I'm going to start with you. What are your kind of expectations of this team going forward? Is it just simply, just show me some sort of improvement, whether it's offensively, defensively, maybe not necessarily translates to a whole bunch of wins, but don't go out there and embarrass yourself. Or do you want them to completely tank and try and get the first overall pick?
No, I mean, I don't like tanking.
Yeah, I know.
I've never been a fan of tanking ever, so I would like to go out there and at least try, I guess is what I'm saying. You play a good team, and you go out there and you maybe get a win or two. I mean, against these top 5 teams that you're going to play upcoming in the schedule.
Right.
So, I mean, try to get some wins, show improvement. I mean, now that you're almost going to be out of the race, now it's kind of a time where you can kind of relax and kind of just throw pieces in and try to test some things out.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of when the Lions, once they get eliminated,
right,
the last couple years or whatever, I mean, that's when you can start throwing in your 5th-string receivers. You can start doing that stuff.
Some test stuff,
yeah, test some new plays out or whatever. Because it doesn't really, it's like preseason almost.
Right.
So,
absolutely.
I mean, with their Wings, just act like once you're like out, you can just be like, oh, it's like preseason, and just kind of have fun and put some new lineups in, and see how it goes.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I would like.
So what we're saying is your expectations are low.
Very low. If they make the playoffs, I'll be.
If they make the playoffs, I'll eat my own foot. All right, because that's not going to happen.
All right, you heard it here.
You heard it here. It ain't going to happen. So I'm perfectly content.
So with that. He's eating his foot.
Same question though. I mean, what are your expectations going into this? Is it just more don't embarrass yourself and have fun with it, or do you want to embrace the suck and just completely try and tank out to get that first pick?
No, I mean, I guess I'm with Mike on this one. I'm not really big on the whole tanking thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like, don't purposely try to suck, but if you suck because you're making good use of your time, as a teacher would say, you're making good use of your time by testing out some new plays, moving some guys, like trying different stuff.
Yeah.
And if it. Heck, you could use this time and you find something that really works, which is something that the Red Wings need to find something that really works.
Yeah. So, Absolutely. And I think now you guys are mentioning, trying some things out and really attempting to maybe change some things up and do what we want to do. But that brings up the next question is, should the Wings be trying to pick up their first-round draft pick, Filip Zadina, who's been up and down in the minors so far, right? You have games where he's there, other games not so much. He's a scoring threat. He could fill in for Larkin. Obviously, he can't play more than, I think, like 8 or 9 games before contract situation gets a little weird as far as eligibility and how long we have him under team control. But you could bring him up for a week, 4 or 5 games. They did it with Mantha before, where they brought him up for a little bit, sent him back down, brought him back up, sent him back down, just to see how he reacts to the speed of the game and the NHL level. I feel like at this point you get to a situation, because you're kind of out of it, bring him up, because what else do you have to lose? If he's terrible, you send him back down. If he shows something, okay, cool, for next year, that's a piece for us to build off of. He kind of fell to you in the draft in the first place at number, I think, 6 it was. So, I mean, do you think they should bring him up as a trial run just to see, okay, maybe let's see what the kid's got?
I mean, I guess why not? I guess should be a question. I mean,
what's the harm?
Yeah, that's what I always think. It's like, I guess worst case scenario is he gets hurt because of the fast pace. But I mean, that's just bad luck that you'd have then.
Yeah.
I mean, why not? I mean, have him play like 5 games, play a couple road games, especially to see his exposure to not playing on his home court or home ice, I guess you would say. Yeah. It's not court. That's
could be sometimes, depending on the stadium.
I guess so. I mean, that we make true points here. We're always right. But yeah, just bring him up and see how he does. Yeah. And if he's, again, like you said, if he's not producing, there's no problem just sending him back to the minors for a little bit, for another year or 2. But I mean, if you really show something, then you can see that you have potential in it.
Yeah, right. Then you kind of hit, right? Same question to you, Em. I mean, like you said, he's a prolific scorer. That's what he does. He can put the puck in the net. And as we know as Red Wing fans, the one thing we can't do is put the puck in the net or stop the puck from going in our own net.
Jimmy Howard.
Yeah, no kidding. So, I mean, does it hurt anything to bring him up just to see what the heck the kid's got and see, okay, maybe we can build off this for next year? I'm not saying, so Red Wing fans, don't kill me, I'm not saying bring him up for the rest of the year.
No.
Clearly can't do that. But what I am saying is you have an opportunity right now for this kid to come up here, do some razzle-dazzleness going on, and you know what I mean, and try to just to see, even if he's inconsistent or he doesn't play well. It's been proven. Mantha came up, had some issues, went back down his second stint, and destroyed it on the minor league level. So clearly, there's some reasoning behind it and some logic. Em, do you think they should bring Zadina out for a couple games? If nothing else, to pop the fan base.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we were talking about how the Wings have been having some trouble, kind of honing some of their younger players that they even have on their main roster right now. Right. So I think taking a serious look at key players and starting to, expose them, even when they're still in the minors, like expose them and really hone talent on like a full timeline. I think this is a good opportunity for them to start doing that, start looking at that. So when he is on your main roster, like,
he's prepared. He knows what's going on.
He's more ready, and I think they should be looking at doing that.
With everybody. Yeah, I don't think it's just Zadina. I think Zadina is the big one for us fans because he's the first overall pick, right? So you're thinking, okay, like we need to see this kid kind of happen, right? Does Jeff Blashill? I don't know why I said Doug, but does Blashill? Yeah, he would be a Doug. He looks like a dog, right? Does Blashill make make it out of this season, though, let's just say it completely falls apart, or let's just say they just continue on the course they're at, right?
Yeah.
Second worst in the division, you're whatever you're at in the conference, nowhere clear of competing. Do you think he makes it? Do you think he gets another year because Holland's still there, so you kind of just let it go?
I actually do think he'll get another year,
Yeah.
weirdly enough. I mean, I think he'll get another year. They'll test out they'll test out some new guys.
Yeah.
He'll try to make some moves in the off season, and then if that doesn't work, and you're like, wow, we've given you a couple years, and you really haven't done anything.
No progress.
And then that's when you kind of let him go and try to bring the new guy in.
Yeah.
So I think, at least in my opinion, I guess they'll keep him here a year.
Yeah.
At least 1 year.
Do you think he should stay?
I don't think he should, but they will.
Okay.
Like, I mean, when you're in the bottom of your division 2 years in a row, I think that's a sign that it's not going right. You need to change.
I think he's hindered, but at the same time, he was the guy to kind of take the young guys that he won with in Grand Rapids and kind of try to repeat that success, and it's not really happening, as we all can tell. Do you think that Blashill makes it out of this season? Do you think it's going to require a change in leadership before he's kind of let go? The Red Wings usually don't fire coaches very often, usually because there's some success that goes along with being part of the Red Wings organization. So, do you think he lasts, or do you think he gets another year before, Yzerman hopefully comes in?
I'm gonna put a big meh on that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of could go either way.
It depends. A shirt that says meh.
Well, I mean, a lot of this is just like a little bit of a crapshoot. You're like, well, he might. I mean, if there's a leadership change, I definitely think he'll go.
That usually happens.
I think that's just the nature of like leadership changes.
Mm-hmm.
But I think right now, you don't want to cut the guy without giving him a chance, but he's had a couple chances and it's not working out too well. So.
I think it's really going to depend on how they finish the season. If it completely bottoms out on him, and if we just get embarrassed out there every night, and then I think it'd be one thing. But like in for instance, right, a couple days ago they're playing the Vegas Golden Knights. You saw they were down 4-1, I think, at one point in that game, and you see some fight in there, right? The problem is you get down 4-1, you have a disaster, right? But it's the fact that you have the ability to kind of get back into that game and have a chance to win it at the end. Those are the kind of the scenarios where if you're a Red Wings fan, there is talent on this team, right? We're not trying to be super negative about this team. There is talent here. It's just getting it. It's just getting us where we need to be and really developing and honing that talent and putting these players in the best position to succeed, I think is kind of where we're lacking right now. But all right, let's go now. We're going to shift from hockey, shift from the ice to the squared circle. We're going to Halftime Heat. WWE's second ever attempt at this. Basically, if you guys don't know what this is, it's WWE put on a match, a six-man tag between Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, and Adam Cole versus Ricochet, Velveteen Dream, and Aleister Black during the halftime of the Super Bowl this past Sunday. So what happened basically was, instead of watching Maroon 5 and that epic disaster, you got to watch some good wrestling instead. So, It was a unique idea. They did it once before in 1999 with Mankind and The Rock in an empty arena match, which was pretty groundbreaking for its time. Mike, first, starting with you. What thoughts on the match? I mean, what did you think?
Here's the thing, was unlike the first one, this one's not a championship match.
Right.
You're just kind of putting the six biggest names out there, and you're kind of just like, have a good one.
Right.
It's
something cool.
Yeah, it's like a live event match almost. Like you just kind of like go out there, do all your signature moves, get the crowd pumped up, go out there for 20 minutes, and then go watch the game. Like, that's really all it was for this one. And, I liked most of it. They had a lot of cool and, maneuvers that no one's really seen before. We've had flashes, if you've watched, Cole Ricochet's one-on-one match, his super kick from the moonsault. Still awesome move. And, you just see, little bits of, other little moments that they've had between each other. So, because these guys have wrestled each other at least 20 times in NXT alone, between the six of them. So, in the Indies a lot more. But anyway, overall, I thought the match was good. You saw a lot of good moments, and someone took the fall that we didn't want. But we'll talk about it.
Same question, right? Thoughts? I know you're kind of in and out. You're just kind of you were kind of confused as to why they were doing it in the first place, which it's something that WWE's brought. It's been almost 20 years since it's been a thing. So, or actually has been 20 years, weirdly enough. But what did you think of the match? Anything that was really, anything we watch a lot of NXT here, so clearly there's you know these characters pretty through and through. A lot of your favorite guys were in it, but did it hit for you, or was it kind of just like, yeah, it's a 6-man tag?
Well, I mean, I was in the process of making nachos, so I was kind of busy during this time period, and it wasn't quite enough. They were really good. It wasn't quite enough to tear me away from like paying attention to my nachos after I made them.
Right.
But I thought it was good. I thought it was interesting. I didn't like Michael said. It wasn't really for. It wasn't for anything. It wasn't about anything. It was just like you kind of got to watch some cool wrestling, and I think. A lot of people like football and wrestling, so I think it's a good idea that doesn't hurt to continue if you put maybe a little bit more on the line. I think it would even be more interesting. I'm sure in our house, when we have our house, instead of being Michael and Rob on a laptop in the corner watching it, it'll just be on the TV screen.
Well, of course. I mean,
it's being streamed live as opposed to halftime.
Yeah, right.
So it's just like...
No, and here's the thing, right? I agree with you. I thought the match was fine, right? And, I mean, did it hit, do you think, the way that the WWE wanted it to?
Yeah.
Because when you go into these kind of scenarios, right, you're promoting this. They dedicated time to it on the NXT show, the TakeOver show, to kind of really kind of sell this and kind of get it. And you have your 6 top guys, right, in this match, right? I thought it was a little bit predictable, right, as far as who's going to lose. You got Gargano and Ciampa at the time are North American and NXT champions, so they're not taking the fall there. The bad guys aren't winning, on a one-match show like this. So I thought that kind of hindered it a little bit for me. Yeah. I thought, I mean, it gave WWE some exposure, right, on a big television day, I guess is the best way of putting that, right? I just thought it was just okay. I think that with a 6-man tag, there's only so much you can do in it, right? To let everybody kind of have their brief moment in there. It's kind of similar to a Royal Rumble for me, where everyone's kind of, okay, Ricochet's in, okay, he's going to do some flips. All right, now Cole's in, he's going to hit a super kick, and then he's going to do this, right? And then here comes Gargano, he's going to do his thing, and so on and so forth. So you're kind of hindered a little bit by that, and obviously the time constraints, you're trying to keep it inside. Do you guys want to see more of these in the future? Should this be a yearly thing now, where they do it with NXT? Do you think you change anything in particular? Do you want a title on the line like they did the first time around? Do we want to see somebody else? What's going to get it to where it's going to be like a can't miss event for you, that one match?
Well, actually, I would rather be more than a yearly thing. I would want to see it actually, because I'll be honest, and some halftimes are not as long, so it's harder to do these on shorter. Right. But if you're watching the NBA finals, there's not even a halftime show. No one's outperforming during the halftime shows. Yeah. They're just they just have a regular halftime in the finals. Right. And it's 15 minutes. Could you have 2 guys run out for 15 minutes and do something during those games or something like that? I'm kind of just I would like to see more of these during halftimes or in big events of some sort. Just having quick little 15-minute spurts between some bigger guys. I'd also like the main roster to do some too. Right. Next year, instead of just NXT, why don't you do main roster versus NXT? Right, absolutely. So if you had a 6-man tag, but if it was Cena and Seth Rollins and somebody versus 3 guys from NXT. Right. Now you're getting some exposure from main roster to NXT. Yeah, future versus whatever. Yeah, the past, present, future that they try to run all the time. So I think if you're just gonna do it once a year, that'd be cool to have NXT versus main roster, or come up with some idea, or have a championship, have the North American Championship match every year. Right, it's for this. It's for this during the halftime show or something, where you have a thing that's oh, I can't wait because last year this happened, so maybe it'll happen this year, or what have you. Right, and be able to. That's the thing. I think that a singles match lends itself better in this situation. Maybe a triple threat if you're really getting fancy with it. Just because, like I said, you have to divvy up so much time to each guy to make each guy look important and look strong in that, right? And obviously, if you watch NXT consistently, the 6 guys that were in this match, they are the top 6 guys on their roster, single stars at least, so that going in. But once again, if you make one guy look like crap compared to the other 5, right, it's going to be very transparent for everybody to kind of see that. So there was a lot of jumbled up mess kind of going on in there. I'd like to see it
like I said, for a championship of some sort. I thought the 99 one with Mankind and Rock, where Mankind actually won the championship, won the WWE Championship that night. I don't think anybody was expecting that. So the shock and awe factor for me is something that you can leverage that for WWE because you're on so many platforms. No other wrestling company can do that. Yeah. Right? No other company like it really has the option or the resources to do it. Is there anything you would change about it? How they presented it? They did it at the Performance Center. Anything that you would really change?
No, I think that if they make it a little bit more worthwhile, and they do maybe incorporate some of the most like the more mainstream guys from the main roster here and there, if they don't make it a women's match.
There you go. Yeah. Dang.
Wow.
Gross.
She said it, not me or mine.
Yeah, I didn't.
Yeah. She said it, not me. Yeah.
Don't come at us.
Only come at me.
Yeah.
No, I think that would make it a little more interesting. But I think it's a good premise and a good concept, and I think they were aided by the fact that Maroon 5 was not very engaging to anyone.
That is another. Huge
if it was a really good halftime show with like.
If Bruno Mars was playing, I'm gonna be honest with you. I mean, I'm guessing a lot of people are probably gonna watch.
Oh, I definitely would have watched Bruno Mars.
Right.
No offense.
Yeah, exactly. Like you know what I mean. Like there's certain people that are just have. Probably a different type of. Not that Maroon 5 is not good or anything like that. It's just I don't need to see a scrawny dude take his shirt off. I don't really care. You know what I mean?
Hey, Astroworld though.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So I agree. I think there's some things that can be cleaned up, but I do think that they should be doing these going forward. I think it's an easy way for WWE to kind of get in that mainstream cycle. They even had a commercial in '99 for the WWF at the time during the Super Bowl. So things like that, where the WWE now is so huge, makes so much money, and is literally everywhere and has their brand everywhere. I think it's only inevitable that every type of big lifestyle event has a WWE tie to it almost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
right.
I think you're absolutely right.
Awesome.
All right, guys, let's hit our final topic of the day. National Signing Day was last week. Michigan has the seventh ranked recruiting class, and then Michigan State had the 30th. We're not going to talk about Georgia or Alabama because they're not Michigan, and quite frankly, we don't care. So, but obviously Michigan historically has always had good recruiting classes. Michigan State is kind of the they get an okay class and they kind of make do with what they get. And I'm going to start with you. Are you happy with the hauls at both Michigan and Michigan? For the record, too, I don't know if we've all established or not. We're all Michigan fans at the table here, just so you're aware, but it doesn't mean that we're going to not talk about Michigan State just because of that. If there's something going on with the Spartans that's big news and relevant, like they lost three games in a row in basketball recently, then we'll hit on that on a regular basis. But, as I said, are we happy with Michigan and Michigan State's recruiting classes compared to what they normally do? I'd say they were pretty on par. Yeah. You know what I mean? Considering where they're at in the college football world as far as notoriety, brand, all that good stuff.
I think so. I think Michigan came out 7th. I think State came out 30th.
Yeah,
30
right. Mm-hmm.
30.
Yeah, we literally just said that. You know that, right?
Oh, did you?
Hi, welcome back. Hey, we're on podcast.
I'm more like,
yeah.
I was like, okay, so that sounds about right.
Right.
I think it's interesting. What was his name? Daxton Hill, I think, got flipped from Alabama, which I think to Michigan, which I think is really cool. When Alabama is probably one of the biggest schools in college football right now, and so it's always kind of nice to see the hometown team, drawing some good talent, some interest from around the country. Hopefully at one point that will result in Michigan football actually winning something of actual relevance.
Wow. That was a shot.
Man, take
well, I'm a Michigan fan de facto, but because I can't really not be a Michigan fan because somebody would divorce me. So.
Right now, Emily is caressing Rob's shoulder.
Yeah, we're really falling off the rails here in episode 11, clearly. But Mike, are we happy with the haul? Both Michigan and Michigan State got. Even though we're not Michigan State fans, at the end of the day, I'm going to root for them against Ohio State or somebody else like that. So any player they get that's not Ohio State is okay. So I mean, like Em said, right? Daxton Hill, the number 1 safety, coming to Michigan, right?
Yeah.
Michigan State never really gets that true 5-star recruit.
No.
You know what I mean? But they always seem to kind of put it together in some way, shape, or form. They have good coaching, right?
It's the exact opposite of basketball. That's how I put it. Michigan never gets high recruits in basketball.
Yeah.
And State gets all of them, but somehow Michigan can put it together and do something.
Right.
I'm actually shocked that they're 30th, depending on how bad State played last year.
Yeah.
Like, I guess because you're going to Michigan State for football, that's like a big thing.
Big
Ten
Ten
and everything. But, like, when you play that bad and I'm trying to convince you, hey, we were, like, 4-8.
Listen,
6-6.
Rutgers still gets kids, okay?
Yeah, I don't know how that happens. You see how scary that team
I know,
is?
it's bad.
When Michigan can beat them 77-0.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, you're
Be
looking
nice to Rutgers. They're in New
They
Jersey.
have
Everything's legal in New Jersey.
everything's terrible.
everything's legal in New Jersey.
Everything's
That's another
terrible.
topic.
Yeah. Anyway, but I mean, Michigan State, right? They got the biggest name that kind of stuck out for me in their recruiting class was Trayvon Morgan, 6'6" wide receiver. He's a 3-star recruit, but he's a big dude, right? And he's a guy that I think a lot of Michigan State fans are looking at as somebody who could potentially come in and fill that number one spot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As somebody that they're really going to rely upon to kind of help that offense, whether it's Lewerke, whether it's whoever's that quarterback, Rocky McIntosh or whatever his name is. But my final question for both you guys is, and for you, those of you at home, do these class rankings matter? And the reason why I bring this up is, like you mentioned earlier, right, Mike, is that Michigan State always seems to kind of put it together. Obviously, they went up, down the past 4 years. But that being said, Izzo, for the most part, puts that team on the field ready to play, and they're a good competitive football team with not the highest of recruits.
Yeah.
Brady Hoke could recruit people, and it was one of the darkest times in Michigan history, right? But we could always recruit, right? 5-star running backs, this, that, and everything else. But then when we got on the field, we looked like we don't know how to tie our own shoes. So my question to you, Mike, is: do these class rankings matter, or are you do you live by the Michigan State motto? Listen, get them here. We'll coach them up. We'll put them in the best position to succeed. Yeah. It's kind of like the New England way in a lot of ways.
That's what. Yeah, I think it's all coaching for college.
Yeah.
Once you hit the pros, you can really have a chance at winning without like scheme and coaching as much. Mm-hmm. I would think. You can look at the Rams for an example. I mean, they just have all these guys off the board, mm-hmm. and even if they don't have the best coaching, they can win games just talent. Talent alone can win. Absolutely. I don't think that's the same in college though, because I think everyone in college is relatively, especially when you hit like Big Ten play or you hit like SEC play.
Yep.
You might hit like the Alabama, who's like a brick wall, but then everyone else that you played mostly for the whole year is all relatively the same.
Yeah.
And then at that point you go, okay, then coaching is what gets you over the hump. I wouldn't say Ohio State's depth was that much better than Michigan's.
No.
Even I think actually Michigan might have been a little better through depth and players, but you could just tell that scheme that Ohio State had just absolutely killed Michigan. Michigan had no answer.
And you saw it, right?
And you saw it.
Right.
Like all these crossing patterns, and we just can't. We have the guys who can catch them, but like if you just switch your scheme around, you can stop it.
And I think it's the same point, right, with the Michigan State game, right? Is that Michigan's strength this year was their front four, and Michigan State historically runs the ball very effectively, right? They invest in their big men. They go get running backs that run hard between the tackles. You know what I mean? And then they take shots downfield. And Michigan did a great job of stopping that, right? And it's being able to coach your guys and put them in positions to succeed. I know it's a common theme here on this show, but it's at the end of the day, it's very true, and having. And I think that's some of the frustration that us Michigan fans have with Jim Harbaugh is this guy we've seen win in other places. He's won at Stanford. He won in San Francisco. And he's won in Michigan, but he hasn't won what you think he should win. And I think that's the problem, is that you're getting all these quote-unquote top talent, top recruits, but we're not turning into anything. That is the biggest problem. And I still don't think you figured out the quarterback situation, which until you figure out a quarterback situation, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to be as competitive as you want to be. I mean, it's not. If we look at the finals of the Final Four of this year, every single one of those teams that was in it at the very end had a top quarterback who could put it together. You know what I mean? Like, if we're really thinking, even the Notre Dame guy.
I was going to say, Notre Dame was like...
But still, though,
that's
right?
He gets to the floor, and he was still better
way better than Shea Patterson.
Yeah.
I'll take him over Shea Patterson. And same question to you. Do you think that, do these class rankings even matter, or is it, is it waiting, let's see them on the field first? Because a lot of people really like this recruiting class, and they get hyped up about these classes and go, oh my gosh, we got this guy, we got that guy, and everyone goes, all right, he's from Texas, I have no idea who the hell he is.
I mean, it's one of those, like, it's not the rank, it's what you do with it kind of vibes. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. In my opinion, it's up in the air. I mean, you want to see Michigan go to a championship. We like the recruiting class, but they've had lots of good recruiting classes. None of this is out of the ordinary.
Right.
So it's going to take something after the recruiting season to push it into, more of a...
Absolutely.
More of a...
Right. Right, I think so. And that's, because Michigan got the number 1 recruit a couple years ago with Rashawn Gary, and look how that worked out.
He's going to be the 3rd overall pick, probably.
Oh my God. As long as he's not the 8th, that's all I care about. Or wherever our lines are.
Let me tell you, we're going to definitely talk about this.
Yeah.
But if he's there at 8, I'm scared. Because we're definitely going to take him. It's going to be the worst.
Mike, I don't even want to broach that topic this episode because I don't want to get angry this episode, okay? That'll be a future episode for sure. But that's going to be it for episode 11. Once again, we are on Stitcher and TuneIn Radio now, so we will be there for your viewing pleasure. Obviously, this goes live Monday at 7 in the morning, and our YouTube goes live Wednesday at 7 in the morning. Please like, subscribe, and comment on all this stuff. And as always, we will see you next week.